And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. And if you'd like additional weather information on top of what you get in this YouTube broadcast, you can go to weather.gov. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii, Alaska to the lower left and the various territories here as tabs on the bottom. And a quick check of what's going on across the continental U.S. This Wednesday afternoon. Numerous tornado watches, parts of the lower Ohio, Tennessee Valley, back down through southern Missouri into southeast parts of Oklahoma, western Arkansas, northeast Texas. Today, the tornado action, there's been at least a few tornadoes, a number of severe thunderstorms here being reported in this region. Yesterday, it was up in Michigan, southern Michigan, getting hit hard, especially near Kalamazoo, southern suburb of Portage, receiving some significant damage from a tornado there. Still have the red flag warnings for critical fire weather conditions here in parts of New Mexico, West Texas, and a scattering of either red flag warnings or some lingering winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings in parts of the northern Rockies. But for Alaska, we are in the heart of river breakup season right now, and we do have flood warnings on the Kuskokwim River at Tlaxac and Kwethluk. Have flood warnings as a result of ice jams in and near these communities. And there have been some reports of flooding. I'll show you a couple of photos there, but those warnings will continue at least till midday Thursday. And then we have flood advisories at Akiak and Bethel that will go until at least Monday because of all the water and ice coming down through the lower Kuskokwim system. It takes a while. We still have flood watches in effect for the upper Yukon River around Circle, and then again the lower Kuskokwim River because there's still the potential for additional ice jams to form. And the flood watches that were in effect for the Copper River Basin and Glen Allen have been canceled. Good news there. Even though the water levels are going to stay high with some minor lowland flooding continuing there in the Copper River Basin, at least the threat, significant threats of flooding and to property has significantly lessened. So that's good news. And then South Central, surprise snow event. We could see some accumulating snow in areas of South Central, especially as you get up into the hills, upper hills of Anchorage, and as well as places like Hatcher Pass. And then we're going to see heavy rain and wind in southeast Alaska from the northeastern Gulf Coast around Yakutat into the northern half of the Panhandle on Thursday. Some areas could get a pretty good soaking there along with gusty winds. So starting out central, which looking toward the east is where Circle is, where the flood watch still continues on the upper Yukon River. We have these cumulus clouds and temperatures entering the lower 50s this afternoon. Still an ice jam up there above Circle, or a large area of ice that's slowly working its way downstream that could impact Circle. So that's why the flood watch is still in effect. St. Paul had snow last night. Earlier today, you can see it on the ground. There's a little polar low that swung through that area of the Bering, and that polar low, that colder air aloft, is going to be moving up through the western Gulf and Anchorage area come tomorrow night, Thursday night, and that is what could help support a surprise little late season snowfall in areas of South Central. Gulkana on the Copper River Basin, the flood watch and the advisory that was in effect for Glen Allen has been canceled, though as I said, creek and river levels will remain high there with some minor flooding in the lowlands unless something were to really change and really warm up quickly and release more snowmelt. At least it looks like the conditions there in the Copper River Basin have stabilized when it comes to flooding. Cape Spencer, that area around Glacier Bay is going to get a soaking along with gale force winds for tomorrow. Mostly cloudy temperatures this afternoon, mid-40s. And as I said, some heavier rain is on the way. Taking a look at the current advisories, watches, warnings. So we have, first mentioned this, wind advisory, parts of the east central Alaska range. Again, gusty winds coming on through there. More importantly, we still have the flood watch in effect here, upper Yukon, including Circle, because of an ice jam that's about 10 miles above Circle, or an area of ice that's moving downstream that could jam and cause flooding. Until that clears Circle, that watch will continue. We have the flood watch for the lower Yukon, and we have, as I mentioned earlier, the advisories, Akiak and Bethel, and then the warnings still for Tlaxac and Kwethluk. And then back here throughout the central northern panhandle, northeastern Gulf Coast, including Yakutat, this area here is going to get blasted with some heavier rainfall on Thursday, along with some gale force winds. There'll be some rainfall amounts 1 to 3 inches, coastal areas as much as 3 to 5 inches in the mountains. Higher in elevations of the coastal mountains could really get blasted with a wet, heavy late season snow with this system. So here's one of the images from Riverwatch. The National Weather Service, we have our River Forecast Center along with the state of Alaska get up in the air and monitor the conditions. And along the lower Kuskokwim at Kwethluk, we have some minor flooding. We can see some areas, homes and things around the river surrounded by some water, and there's flooding that's there, and that's why there is a flood warning for Kwethluk, and that will continue into the day on Thursday. We don't expect water levels to change much, if anything, to go up a little higher. So just keep an eye on things and stay safe. And here's the map, looking at, again, where we have the flood watch, upper Yukon, where the Porcupine comes into the Yukon. We have the ice flow that's coming down the upper Yukon, approaching Circle. It was reported 10 miles upstream as of midday this Wednesday, so it still has a ways to go. The Copper River Basin, the flood situation has improved there, so the watch and advisories that were in effect in this region have been canceled. The water levels will stay high as the snowmelt runoff continues. And then the trouble spots here, the lower Kuskokwim, as I just mentioned, those spots will continue to see this area under the gun as we go through the end of the week. So stay tuned to later updates as more information becomes available. But looking satellite imagery, we've had one low come up into Prince William Sound today. Here's the curl in the clouds that makes up that low that crossed St. Paul late last night and this morning. It's a rather compact cold air aloft convective system now approaching areas like Sand Point, Cold Bay, cold front swinging through Dutch Harbor. Very small compact system that's going to come up along through the Western Gulf tomorrow night into early Friday. Meanwhile, look at this plume of moisture, this atmospheric river. Next low that's located down in this vicinity is going to race northward and come on shore between Yakutat and Cape Suckling on Thursday afternoon. That's going to bring a blast of wind and heavier precipitation to the central, northern, and panhandle and northeastern Gulf Coast on Thursday. And then we have another low way out here impacting and cutting across the western half of the Aleutians as we go through the day on Thursday. And looking at the weather map, here's that low that's going to be coming northward into the north central Gulf on Thursday with an initial warm front. You can see warmer temperatures could get up in the lower 60s around Ketchikan, Klawak, Craig by Thursday afternoon. We have this trough lingering. The moisture that's come on shore with this latest low could help spark some scattered rain and snow showers mixed, not just Thursday afternoon, but again on Friday afternoon as that pushes northward. And then we have this little compact system that's swinging through the southeast Bering and across the tip of the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and that'll eventually, that energy and colder air aloft will swing northeastward later Thursday night and early on Friday morning. And then there's the low way out there approaching the western Aleutians. That's going to continue to track eastward on Thursday. By the time we get into Thursday afternoon, we have the one low coming on shore between Yakutat Bay and Cape Suckling with a push of milder air up into the southern parts of the panhandle, gale force winds, and some heavier rainfall. Intercoastal mountains, you get up here southern Yukon, any higher elevations, it's going to be quite a pounding of late season heavy wet snow. And then there's that little compact feature crossing up through Bristol Bay and lifting northeastward. And the low continues to truck across the central Aleutians on Thursday afternoon, and by Friday, that low from the central Aleutians will be crossing the lower Alaska Peninsula into the North Pacific, and that'll be taking a track northeastward up toward the western Gulf here to start the weekend. And conditions should have improved across the panhandle. Some lingering light rain, snow showers possible there early Friday. A little drier conditions in the south, but some of that moisture is going to work its way all the way across the Alaska range, so that'll precipitate out as some scattered rain and or rain snow showers mixed here through the central, east central interior for Friday, so that won't be the best weather for any sort of flying activity there. And looking at lows stay above freezing, upper 30s, low 40s panhandle tonight. That would be early Thursday morning, and generally above freezing south central areas, mid to perhaps upper 30s. And then temperatures Thursday afternoon Could see a 60-degree reading here in the southern part of the panhandle as a surge of warmer air comes just briefly northward before it gets pinched off. Lower 50s, lower mid 50s here through the central and upper panhandle. And then back here with the cloud cover and other things going on. Cooler day, highs generally in the 40s south central. Low temperatures Friday morning will generally be above 40 in the low to mid 40s here across the panhandle. But flirting with freezing in here. You see how the temperature here, the west side of the Kenai Peninsula does get below freezing. Anchorage 35, but could end up getting closer to 32 depending if the snow gets going and can accumulate. So Anchorage just needs 1/10 of an inch of snow at Ted Stevens International Airport to at least have the second snowiest record on record, and then 1.9 inches for the all-time record. It's not impossible. If it doesn't happen later Thursday night and then Friday morning, it probably won't now. But readings could be down near a bit below freezing further north, Talkeetna and the Copper River Basin, and again, lingering cloud cover, cooler air mass, highs only in the 40s, south central, with some low and mid 50s throughout the panhandle. In the far north, we see low temperatures near just above freezing, middle Yukon Valley into the Tanana Valley. Temperatures could dip upper teens along areas of the Arctic coast, especially north side of the Seward Peninsula entering the Bering Strait. Temperatures Thursday afternoon should still get in the upper 50s here around Eagle, mid 50s around Fairbanks. Temperatures stay below freezing north slope, Arctic coast, north side of the Seward Peninsula, and even out there toward St. Lawrence Island at Savunga. And for Friday morning, low temperatures, maybe a couple degrees cooler in places. But there is going to be a little more precipitation trying to creep further inland in the central, east central interior as the result of these systems coming in up off the Gulf. Coldest temperatures, upper teens to near 20 degrees, Arctic coast, northwest coast down along the Bering Strait. And temperatures Friday afternoon, we do anticipate highs in some areas of the central eastern interior, getting into the low mid 50s. So again, not as warm as it could be for this time of year, but that's going to be where the warmest temperatures are found. We've had that little compact polar low pass through. It could be 23 there at St. Paul on Thursday morning. Temperatures are chilly on the especially the outer Yukon Delta and Kuskokwim deltas. And then temperatures Thursday afternoon may make about 40 at Bethel, a little warmer as you creep up the Kuskokwim, but otherwise, don't look for temperatures to get much above, say, the 40 degrees along the Alaska Peninsula and the eastern Aleutians. Temperatures Friday morning will likely get below freezing here, the lower Yukon and the lower middle portion of the Kuskokwim River, and then maybe slightly a few degrees warmer along the Aleutians as we go into Friday morning with daytime highs, possibly getting back up mid 40s to near 50 degrees around McGrath, but again, not especially warm, and temperatures along the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians will generally reach lower to maybe mid 40s for highs. And here is the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. I've been talking about the fact that we expect temperatures to average below normal across most of the state through mid-month and beyond. And it's indicating that some of the cooler temperatures will be situated here. Greater threat for below normal temperatures will be along the Gulf Coast into the Panhandle, including areas around Prince William Sound and Cook Inlet, and then also back here through the west around Norton Sound, the lower Yukon and Kuskokwim areas. And then precipitation may still average a bit above normal. This is normally the driest time of year, but we've seen the systems. I told you it's going to be staying active, systems coming in up on the North Pacific into the Bering or up into the Gulf. And this would just imply that we could see precipitation average above normal, especially from areas of the southwest interior up along the Alaska Range into the central eastern interior and then down into the Panhandle over southeast Alaska. So overall, we do not foresee any long stretches of sunny, warm, dry spring or weather. It's just going to stay in this pattern, it looks like, easily through mid-month and maybe the entire month. So stay tuned to later outlooks because as we progress, we'll be able to have a closer look here as we get toward Memorial Day weekend.